plan. Top of the morning to you, fellow gentlemen of culture. Today, we are finally actually going to bend some tubes and get this roll cage going. I was just as excited as you guys were last week to get this cage rolling, but the floor had other plans. So we got that tackled, and now, bend and tube. So, let's get right into it. We got a couple more things to take apart on the dash, and then we can get cracking. All right, so our first order of business, get the rest of this dash out. And then we got to make room up in this pillar for the bars to come through and get our base plates mounted for the front half of the roll cage in the corners. We're going to go our back corners and then straight down from here. It should land somewhere right around there because this is body mount, so I'm going to be right in front of it. About you guys, but I'm sure these things freaking slapped. Crazy old Alpines. All right, so I reckon I want this cage to follow everything really tight, and I want to tie it into my pillars. The dash bar I'm going to set down low so it hugs that dash pad. I think we're just going to pull the rest of this so I can tuck everything up tight. I'm not ever going to be able to take any of this crap out once the cage is in here anyways. And then I can just sound deaden the roof. And then when we get further down the road, I'll make some aluminum trim panels for the top roof like you see like you see on a luxury pre-runner, that type style. Like something like MCD1 would do in one of their builds. So we're going to go that route. Let's keep jamming. We'll pull all these interior panels out and friggin' do it to it. Dude, this thing's going to be bitching. Got about 5 million screws now. Put your big girl pants on. It's time to screw, boys. Another hidden screw. Pretty much just open this up some more. Straight down through there. Might end up losing this vent though. Just have to see, I guess. Just have to see, I guess. Alright, so here's where we're at. This side, I'm going to have to open this up so that my pillar tube can come down through here, and then this chunk, normally on AC trucks, this is some big old bulky thing, but it's a vacuum operated little flappy door to control where your blower motor gets its air from. So I'm going to make a new plate for in here. We'll open this up so my bar can go down here. So all the rest of this AC vent stuff should be fine. Then on this side, I might have to massage this open a little bit more. But it is going to run into this vent, it looks like. Otherwise, I got to kick my tube like way, way forward. So I'm going to pull this one out. And I'm going to do one of two things because all my other vents will work. So I'm either going to figure out if I can modify this around the tube once it's in there, or we're going to pull off of the duct up in here and I'll just make like something out of some aluminum tube or something that blows out right here and we'll make ourselves a ball chiller. So I'll cross that bridge when I get there, but I think this is going to work mostly. So here's how we're going to do this. This is that factory speaker hole. Right about here is where the tube's going to be. And this is one of those factory clips where the dash clips into. This is just going to have to go because we're going to have to cut that section out anyways. Alright, well, we're committed now. Ain't no going back. Alright, now we're going to do ourselves a favor and sand all these edges so that I don't cut the crap out of myself on them later. Alright, so here's our cuts. Got all that room for the tube to go in there. And then I ended up opening the other side a little bit more here because I figured this is going to come in and bend and I needed a little bit more room right there for that to go in there. So I think we're going to be good. See, you got a straight shot down and more or less a straight shot down. All right, so now we're going to locate all our plates so that we know where we're going to drill to and where we're going to mount our tubes to. So we can't mount them on the body mount. I don't want to get into all the body mount structure and all that. So body mount is right here. You can feel underneath your truck. You can feel it. There's a big tube structure right here. And then you're on your toe plate. So I'm going to go low on the toe plate because this is just that single layer there and that. So if I'm low on the toe plate, on the other side of the toe plate is the piece that's going to tie into the frame. And this bushing material is the same as what I replaced my body mounts with. So in theory, right, my cage and my body should move the same together in relation to the frame. So, because we're not solid mounting it, because if you solid mount your cage to the frame and to the body, then the body wants to flex, and then that causes cracking and breaking your body mounts and all kinds of crap. So we're kind of going to do what I call like floating the cage, right? And that's what these sandwich plates are for. So this will go on the inside. This is what's on the other side that it bolts to, and the floor's in between. So it's a super strong connection. There's this little crease right here. I want to snuggle up next to that and then low down here. Right about there. That looks good. And we're square with that body mount, and that way it's as much out of the way for me as possible. So let's give us some reference marks so that I can take measurements. There we go. And then we're going to use what are called transfer punches to transfer the perfect center of these holes over. So this is a shaft that's the same diameter as my hole is, with the punch dead center on the other side. So that way we can pop him in there. And one landing pad ready to go. So this back portion curves to right about here. This isn't like a sharp 90. So I'm going at the end of that curve. I'm trying to keep this in as flat of a location as I can so that I have like the best mounting solution that I can. So we are off of this back little wall 5 1/4 off, and off of this wall 5 1/2. Double check. Looks good. Punch our bigger holes. Boom. So, we are going to build our main hoop. Bottom is 62.5 to the outside of the plate. And each of these are offset about 1 inch inside the plate. So we'll draw our floor and our start point here and here. So we're, I think I said what, 62.5, which means our outside edge on the bottom minus 1 inch and 1 inch will be 60.5 inches across the bottom. So 66 minus 1/2 and 1/2. So our outer perimeter up there would be 65. Yeah, I need to sit back where you guys are. And let's find our edge. I think it starts coming in right here, right? We got our bump, and then it's flat, and then it comes in. So if we come up and have our peak of our corner right here, these are all kind of pretty centered here. We're 40, so that's 13 1/4. Yeah, so I think we can just split the difference between these two, which are 13.5, which would be 6.5, 6 3/4, 6 3/4. Definitely going to need to make some new bend pieces because I want this to fit here, but it's going to be back about here. But we're going to fit it forward. We're going to fit it right on. So a little bit shallower is probably going to be like a 70 degree, right? Because my 60 is too shallow. This is why you make all these bend pieces, right? Because I can sit here and hold this up. Shows where my bend needs to start. And I can say, hey, that's way wrong. It needs more bend than 60. Here's my 75. Hey, it needs a little bit less than 75. So I'm guessing this is going to be right about 70. But then I can hold this up here with the spacing that I want because I don't want it to be touching this. I want it just below it. And figure out exactly where my start and stop points are. Some people, everyone bends cages or bumpers or whatever a little bit different. Some people like to get all their measurements and start at one end and work their way through. I tend to start in the middle and work one side and then mirror the other side. I do it that way because then typically I can test fit one side And if it's wrong and I can't fix it, right? Like if I way over bend it or something like that, then I only waste half as much tube than if I did an entire hoop. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to cut a short piece, and we're going to make a test piece so that I can get this angle perfect, because I would rather waste a couple short pieces, like a couple little 2, 3, or like 2 1/4 foot sections, making more of these, because number one, then I'm going to have more for super precise fitment of stuff later, and number two, I'd rather waste a little piece of tube than a big piece of tube, because this crap is friggin' expensive, man. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I'll bend one up to like 65 first, because this will be about here, and then we'll creep in on it. If I need to add another couple degrees, I'll add a couple degrees, and we'll get this bend perfect, so then we can like lock this in place and match up our other bend. Sound good? Sounds good. You guys have been practicing for years. You didn't even know it. So, we need to bend somewhere between 60 and 75 degrees. It's easier to add bend. I can't really take it away. So what we're going to do is go to 65 and check it, and then see what we need to do from there, because it looks like it's a little closer to 60 being correct than 75 being correct. So there's always a little bit of spring back, so we're going to go to 67. This is probably going to fall on my head, but we'll find out. Let's see, there's that. All right, so we're going to explain my little schematic here real quick. So from the center of the cab, right here, we're going to come out 17.5 inches. I rechecked those marks. 17.5 is the better one. We're going to come out 17.5 inches, bend it to 72 degrees indicated, which will be right about 70. And then 23 inches after the start of that bend, we're going to start our next bend at 22.5 degrees on the thing, which was 23.5 on the bender. And then my marks are a little fuzzy on this, so we'll come down 13 inches and then measure 19 inches more, and that should bring us to the floor. So obviously I'll add, a couple extra inches, because, a couple extra inches never hurt. And then we can trim it down to fit, and that'll give us plenty to play with to fine tune our angle for the dangle, so that we can come super flush to the flat plate on the bottom, because I'm going to TIG weld it, so it's got to be spot on. And then I think, well, let's figure out how long of a tube we need. We'll just do some math here. So we'll calculate one side and then double it. So we got 17.5 for the top, 23 inches for that next bend, a 13-inch chunk, 19 to the floor after that, and we're going to add 2 inches for good measure, because everyone needs 2 more inches. So let's calculate this out. Equals, where's the equals? And if you're really good at math, you already know the answer, and you know that I'm not really good at math. So that gives us 74.5. And we're going to double that, is 149. And because I like even numbers, we're just going to call it 150 inches. 150 divided by 12 gives us 12.5 feet. So let's get to cutting. So I got this cool tool I got from Casey Kuhnhausen. I'll put a link in the description because I'm about to use a whole bunch of his stuff on this roll cage because it's freaking sweet, dude. It's so helpful. It makes everything go a lot faster. I'm thrilled I found it. So, you know, I always like wrap tape around stuff when I'm cutting tube to keep a straight line. This is 1 3/4 little 3D printed guide that you just slip on there, and what do you know? You got a little straight part. I can mark it around. It'll save me a couple bucks on tape, and this was only a couple bucks, so it's probably already paid for itself. Like I said, you just mark her on there. Look at that. Perfect cut line. This is a fun part of YouTube that makes everything take 30 times longer to do. You gotta move cameras and reposition them. I love doing it, but it takes forever. That way, I can get you guys this sweet money shot cutting this tube up. Alright, so we'll mark our bends here. We're 150 overall. So to find the center, because we're going to base everything off center. So, here, let's get this kajiggered correctly. Hey, there you are. Thanks for joining me here on my crappy low overhead garage. Alright. So, 150 overall. We're going to find our center because the way that I bend stuff is I base everything off of the center. Some people like to bend and start at one end and work through. I start in the middle and bend out. So, and neither of those ways is wrong. It's just a matter of what system works best for you. So, we got center. I'm going to use this rad tool a bunch more and make all my marks all the way around these tubes. Now we're going to go 17.5 in each direction. Oh, seriously? Please hold. Why are you tripping, Rob? Because you got frickin' airlines all over the floor. That's why. Alright. Try this again. Where's the thoracic? Now, because this is DOM, there's no real super clear unifying like stream down the center of it, right? From the weld, like welded pipe. So we need a consistent center line that's dead nuts down this whole thing, because I'm bending a 12.5 foot main hoop and it has to stay perfectly in line with itself. So anything you can do to make that process simpler is brilliant, because it's just going to make your life easier. So same guy, Casey Kuhnhausen, makes these little templates in a bunch of different sizes. And so this one's sized for 1 3/4 tube, and it holds a Sharpie. And so I can set this on the ground, or ideally you'd put it on like a fab table, right? Because you got a nice perfect flat ground. I'm just going to have to do the best I can and put it on the ground. Put this guy on it, and I can scribe a pretty perfect, So I can scribe a pretty perfect center line from one end to the other and keep this tube totally square for my main hoop so that the backbone of my cage isn't crooked. And that's incredibly important because everything going forward is built off of this bar. This is like the heartbeat of the roll cage. So it needs to be perfect. So we're going to set this thing up so that the tip sticks just past the end. And do me a solid, guys. If you see this thing and you're like, holy crap, this is sweet like I do, and you go get one from him, I'm not like an affiliate for him or anything like that. But if there's like a comment section when you buy stuff, like a notes or something, mention that I turned you on to this part in there. And then maybe, just maybe, he'll send me some of the other really cool stuff I want to get from him for me to try out for you guys. Keep this thing as stable as I can. Alright, I need a pen that marks better. But check this thing out, dude. This is what's so cool about this. Look at that center line. I think it shows up on here. All the way across through all my bend points. Oh, it's going to make it so much easier to keep this thing aligned. Well, alright. New plan. I hate low ceilings. What kind of room we got under the deck? Alright, we're relocating. Oh my gosh. I cannot make this up. I had to move outside. We're right where it needs to be and literally kissing the freaking deck. Holy cow, dude. But it worked. It freaking worked. All right, let's keep going. Ricola. I was wanting to do that. Get in the hole. See, this is the important part in doing, especially a long piece like this. If you're off by even like a fraction of a degree, this whole 12 feet of tube is shot. And that's like $80. No, that's more than that. 12, whatever 12 times like 750 is. I'm not good at math. It's not my strong point. So it's worth taking a couple extra moments and like $3 and buying a tool like that one to get this perfect. so that you get a perfect result. All right, so we got a little tweaking to do. I'm a little too wide between here and here, but my bends are, that one's perfect. This one you can see needs to come in just a tiny bit more. You can see a little shy right there. That's not going to be quite the difference. I think what I was doing is when I was holding this up, I was holding it against the roof line, and the roof isn't flat. The roof has a tiny bit of like a roundy round to it. So I'm going to add a couple degrees on both sides here to squeeze this cage together, and that'll narrow up that area where it needs to be, and then that'll narrow up the bottom where it needs to be. So we're going to do a little bit of fine tuning here, and I'll get back to you. Like that though right here, because I'm like super tight on these corners. All right, so we ended up just a skosh wider than I was hoping for, or I measured to a slightly narrower spot, but I think we're pretty good because I can get my tubes right up here in the corners. Here, I'll bring you up so you can see. So we can run our tubes for the pillar bars right up in those corners, and it's just going to be right on the body, which is going to be pretty killer. And that's both sides, that looks like. So it'll be right about like that. So I think we'll be good there. So what I'm going to do, because it's just putting a little bit of pressure on the body pieces right there, I'm going to do a little tiny clearance notch on both sides. It is right there. So I'll give myself a little bit of breathing room right there, and then we're going to square this tube up to this vertical on the body right there, because I think that comes up and then the cab kicks forward a little bit right there. And then we'll tack these together, and I can start bending A-tubes, I think, because this is real tight up here, but We're going to have bars coming from here, so there's plenty of room there. It'd be a little bit tight here, but we're just going to be coming here, and that way this gives me maximum headroom. So, and my wife, maximum headroom. So, make a little room. We're going to roll with it. Alright, we got the main hoop in. Nice and tight all the way around. Looking good. Alright, here we got from the other side. Got the bars. Across. Boom. Alright, so we got our dash ready to go for the bars down there. We got our main hoop measured up and bent and tacked into place, fitting nice and tight all the way around. So, next week, depending on the weather, because it seems to be not cooperative lately, will either be bed liner and or getting these A-pillar tubes fit, spreader bar, all that good stuff. So, to see the first episode of this cage video, click here. To see the whole Merle playlist, click here. That's everything to do with this truck. And remember, if you don't get started, you'll never get finished, because the weather doesn't give a damn.